You people never learn. The voice cut through our Sunday morning like a blade. I turned from the grill to see Vivian Moss standing at the fence, but this time she wasn't holding a clipboard. She was holding a gun. I warned you, she screamed, climbing over the fence with the weapon trembling in her hand. I told you this neighborhood had standards. My daughter Maya grabbed her sons. Mom, the kids. Inside. Now, I said, stepping between Vivian and my family. The barrel pointed straight at my chest. Vivian's face was red, twisted, rage pouring out of her like she'd been holding it back for months. This property doesn't belong to you, she shrieked. People like you don't just move into Cedar Heights and ignore the rules. Vivian, I said slowly, hands raised. Put the gun down before someone gets hurt. Don't tell me what to do. She stepped closer, finger near the trigger. I've called the police. Told them there's an armed intruder. You won't talk your way out this time. My wife Angela screamed from the patio door. Marcus, stay inside, I shouted back. Vivian's eyes were wild, her voice shaking with conviction. The HOA will take this house back. I'll make sure of it. You stole it. You don't belong here. I kept my voice calm even as my heart hammered. I own this house, Vivian. Legal deed. Signed papers. You know that. I don't care what papers you forged, she spat. This is my neighborhood. That's when I heard the sirens, 3 police cruisers screeching into the cul-de-sac for the second time in 2 weeks. But this time, it wasn't me they were coming for. This time, the woman with the weapon wasn't going to talk her way out. And this time, the whole damn thing was caught on camera. Before I tell you how we got to this moment, guns, threats, and a neighborhood war that nearly cost me everything, let me know where you're watching from. And hit subscribe, because this story proves that sometimes the most dangerous people aren't criminals, they're your neighbors. When Angela and I first pulled into Cedar Heights with the moving truck last October, it felt like everything we'd worked for had finally come true. Wide streets, manicured lawns. That particular kind of Texas suburb where every house looked like it had been designed by the same architect who really loved beige. Cedar Heights sat just outside Austin, close enough to the city for work, far enough out for space. Real space. A backyard, a pool, room for our daughter Maya to visit with the grandkids without everyone sitting on top of each other. After 20 years in the Army, 2 tours overseas, promotions that came with gray hair and bad knees, I'd retired at 42 with a pension and the dream of finally slowing down. Angela, a nurse for 18 years, had just taken an early retirement package from Dell Seton Medical Center. We were done with the grind, done with landlords, done with cramped apartments. This was our house, our 2,400 square feet of brick, concrete, and freedom. The house wasn't new, built in 2008, needed some paint, landscaping was overgrown, but it was solid, good bones. The kind of place you could see yourself growing old in. And that pool, God, that pool. Kidney-shaped, turquoise tile, surrounded by limestone pavers that got hot as hell in summer but felt perfect under bare feet in the morning. I remember the first time I dove in. The water was cold, clean, and mine. No shared apartment complex pool with broken filters and suspicious band-aids floating around. This was ours. We spent the first few weeks unpacking, meeting neighbors, planting flowers Angela picked out from Home Depot. Most people were friendly enough. The Johnsons' next-door retired couple brought us banana bread. The Chavez family across the street, young parents, 2 loud boys who loved kicking soccer balls into our yard. Everyone seemed welcoming. Everyone except one. Vivian Moss lived 3 houses down in a pale yellow 2-story with shutters so white they practically glowed. She was always outside, always watching, clipboard in hand like a general inspecting troops. Early 50s, blonde hair pulled into a tight bun that looked like it gave her migraines, the kind of woman who wore pearls to check the mail. The first time we met her, I was trimming the hedges when she walked up heels, clicking on the driveway like little gunshots. "Good morning," I said, wiping sweat from my forehead. She didn't smile, didn't even try. "You must be the new homeowners." Her tone made it sound like an accusation. "That's right, Marcus and Angela Bennett. We moved here from San Antonio." She glanced at the hedges I'd been trimming. Just so you know, the HOA has very specific landscaping standards. We like things uniform here, I chuckled. Uniform? I'll try to keep the bushes from forming a union then. She didn't laugh. Not even a polite smile. That's when I realized Vivian Moss wasn't the friendly suburban neighbor type. She was the self-appointed guardian of community standards, the enforcer of imaginary rules, the kind of person who mistakes control for respect. The next week, she left a printed welcome letter taped to our door, except it wasn't really a welcome. It was 6 pages of HOA regulations highlighted in yellow with handwritten notes in the margins like trim tree to 6 feet max and pool lights must not exceed 300 lumens. Angela thought it was funny at first. She just takes her job seriously. But I'd seen that kind of authority obsession before. In the army, in neighborhoods, in people who turned power into poison. Still, I tried to keep the peace. I waved every morning. She rarely waved back. Once, while checking the mailbox, she stopped her car, rolled down the window, and said, "You know, most residents here prefer neutral tones for outdoor furniture." That red umbrella stands out. I looked at the bright red patio umbrella by our pool and smiled. That's the idea, Vivian. Makes the place feel alive. Her face tightened. This isn't that kind of neighborhood. Then she rolled the window up and drove off. I remember thinking, what kind of neighborhood is it then? It wasn't long before her small remarks turned into acts of control. We'd get reminder notes about leaving trash bins out, 12 hours past collection time, about watering schedules, about noise levels, which, according to Vivian, included my lawnmower on Saturday mornings. She once told Angela, HOA guidelines suggest electric mowers to reduce sound pollution. Angela just blinked. Sound pollution? Vivian, we live next to I-35. It wasn't the sound that bothered her. It was us. See, Vivian Moss had lived in Cedar Heights since the development was built in 2006. Rumor had it, she'd practically run the HOA before there even was an HOA. She was used to being obeyed, to everyone tiptoeing around her sharp tongue and clipboard threats. When we arrived, 2 newcomers who didn't bow to her rules, it probably felt like an invasion. One afternoon, I was cleaning the pool when she appeared again, this time holding her phone like she was documenting evidence. She didn't bother saying hello. You know, the HOA requires approval for pool renovations. I didn't renovate anything, I said. Just cleaned it. Well, it looks different. The watercolor changed. That's called chlorine, Vivian. Her lips pressed into a thin line. You don't need to be snarky, Mr. Bennett. And I'm maintaining them. Sparkling clean. She left without another word. But the next morning, an envelope was taped to my door. Notice of potential HOA violation. Angela sighed. She's testing you. Yeah, I said, crumpling it. And I'm not playing. For a while, things went quiet. Or maybe I just learned to tune her out. We hosted a small barbecue one Saturday. Friends, neighbors, music at reasonable volume. Halfway through, Vivian marched over. This gathering wasn't authorized. Authorized? I laughed. Vivian, it's a barbecue, not a protest. You didn't request guest parking permits. There's space in my driveway. Rules are rules. That was the first time I saw the look. That glint in her eyes that said she wasn't enforcing policy. She was enforcing ego. That night, I told Angela, I've dealt with HOA presidents before, but this one? She's not enforcing order. She's enforcing power. Still, I didn't expect her obsession to reach the level of calling armed police to my backyard. The day before the pool incident, I'd noticed Vivian watching us from her upstairs window while I trimmed the front bushes. When the mail came late, she walked over and said, "Strange how often delivery delays happen lately. Maybe it's a sign the HOA should handle community mail distribution." I stared at her. "You want to control the post office now?" She didn't answer, just walked off muttering something about outsiders not understanding how things work here. Outsiders. That word stuck in my mind. It wasn't just about property or rules. It was about who she thought belonged in a neighborhood like this, and who didn't. That night, I checked my security cameras, 2 pointing at the driveway, 1 at the back gate, and installed 2 more along the fence line. Something in my gut told me Vivian wasn't done. Angela teased me for being paranoid, but she didn't stop me either. "Better safe than sorry," she said. The next morning, Sunday, February 16th, 2025, I woke early, slipped into the pool, and let the cool water wash away the tension. Angela brought her book and sat by the patio, golden light spilling over everything. For a moment, life felt normal. Until the sirens came. It happened so fast. Loud, shrill, echoing through the cul-de-sac like the apocalypse had arrived. 3 police cruisers skidded to a halt in front of our gate. Doors flew open. Officers ran in, weapons drawn. I froze, mid-stroke, water dripping from my face. "Get out of the pool," one shouted. "Hands where we can see them," Angela screamed. "What's happening?" I slowly raised my hands, heart hammering. "Officers, I live here. This is my home." And then I saw her, standing at the edge of her driveway, phone in hand, lips curled into that satisfied smirk. Vivian Moss. She'd finally gone from clipboard to 911. That's when I realized this wasn't just an annoying HOA conflict anymore. It was something darker, something personal. And if I didn't handle this exactly right, I could end up shot in my own backyard. The lead officer name tag read, "Daniel stepped closer, weapon still raised." "Sir, step out of the pool, slowly. Keep your hands visible." For a moment, I didn't move. The water felt colder now. My brain scrambled to process what was happening. Angela was yelling from the patio, "He lives here! This is our house!" But the officers barely acknowledged her. 3 of them had fanned out, 2 in the yard, 1 covering the gate. They looked tense, confused, ready for anything. And standing right behind them, wearing that smug, self-righteous grin, was Vivian. Phone still in hand, hair perfect. Like she'd just stepped out of a magazine photo shoot titled Suburban Justice. I raised my voice steady, loud enough for everyone to hear. "My name is Marcus Bennett. This is my property. I can show you my ID and the deed inside the house, but for now, I'm keeping my hands right here." Officer Daniels glanced at the others, motioning for them to lower their aim slightly, but stay alert. "Sir," he said, "we received a call about an armed trespasser acting suspiciously." "Armed?" I gestured at my soaked swim trunks. "Unless my pool noodle counts as a weapon, I think someone's pulling your leg." One of the younger officers, name tag Reyes, blinked awkwardly. I could tell he was already piecing things together. Vivian, however, wasn't done with her performance. She stepped forward, voice shrill. "That's him, officers. He's been using the pool all morning. I told you he doesn't belong here." The words hung in the air like smoke. Officer Daniels' expression changed a mixture of disbelief and irritation. He knew exactly what kind of call this was, now. I sighed. "Officer, if you follow me to the porch, I can grab my ID and the deed. You'll also see our mail with my name on it, and security cameras that recorded me unlocking the back gate this morning." Daniels nodded. "All right, Mr. Bennett. Slow movements, please." As I walked out of the pool dripping wet, heart still pounding, Vivian kept shouting behind me, "He's lying! I saw him jump the fence last week. This house was on the market not long ago. He must have broken in after the sale." Angela stormed forward, trembling but furious. "Vivian, that's enough. You've seen us here every day since we moved in." But Vivian just folded her arms, nose lifted in defiance. "HOA records don't show a transfer yet. Until I see official documentation, he's trespassing." We reached the porch. I handed Officer Daniels my wallet and the thick folder with our purchase papers. He scanned them, compared names, addresses, signatures. Then quietly, he sighed and handed everything back. "All right, Mr. Bennett, you're good. I apologize for the disturbance." Vivian's mouth fell open. "Wait, what? You're just gonna let him go?" Daniel's tone hardened. "Ma'am, this man owns this property. You need to return to your home immediately." Her face flushed red. "You don't understand. He's dangerous. People like him. Ma'am, Daniels interrupted, voice like steel, you are dangerously close to filing a false report. The silence that followed was absolute. You could hear cicadas buzzing, water trickling in the pool filter, and Vivian's ego deflating like a balloon with a slow leak. She turned sharply, muttering something under her breath, and stormed off toward her house. But even as she disappeared behind her gate, I could feel her gaze burning through the hedges. When the police cars finally left, Angela came to me, shaking. Marcus, that could have gone so wrong. I know, I said quietly, looking at the fading tire marks in the driveway. All because of her paranoia. Or worse. That night, neither of us slept much. Every sound outside made Angela jump. I kept replaying the moment those guns were aimed at me. I'd seen that look before the split second where fear mixes with authority and bad things happen. The next morning, I decided to check the security footage. Sure enough, Vivian had been pacing her backyard for nearly half an hour before the cops arrived. She was on the phone the entire time, gesturing angrily toward our house. She'd even zoomed in with her phone camera, filming me swimming as if collecting evidence. I saved the clip, labeled it Paranoid Neighbor Insurance, and backed it up to 2 drives. I didn't want to believe she'd escalate again, but something told me that woman wasn't done. Over the next few days, she tried to act like nothing happened, but her version of normal was tight-lipped scowls and fake politeness. She left sticky notes on our mailbox. HOA reminder, pool safety inspections required annually. She even sent an email from the HOA board. Property violations may result in penalties. Funny thing, when I checked with the actual HOA office downtown, they told me there was no President Vivian Moss. She wasn't even officially part of the board anymore. She'd been voted out 2 years ago after several complaints. Angela and I just looked at each other and laughed in disbelief. So she's just pretending to be in charge? Angela said. Apparently, I replied, queen without a kingdom. But I knew better than to underestimate someone like Vivian. People who lose power often get desperate to feel it again. 2 weeks later, I caught her taking pictures of our backyard fence. I walked over calmly. Morning, Vivian. Can I help you with something? She startled, then tried to recover. Routine documentation. HOA perimeter survey. Didn't know we were surveying fences now. We have to ensure property boundaries are respected. I smirked. You mean the boundaries you crossed when you called armed police on me? Her eyes narrowed. You think this is over, Mr. Bennett? I think it should have never started. I turned and walked away before she could answer. That night, Angela said, She's obsessed with you, Marcus. You need to be careful. I'm more worried about her obsession with authority, I said. People like her, they can't stand being ignored. I was right. 2 mornings later, while watering the garden, I found a letter taped to our door. No envelope. Just a handwritten note in blocky, angry letters. You might have fooled the police, but you don't belong here. Angela wanted to call the cops immediately, but I told her to wait. Let's see how far she's willing to go. I'm documenting everything. I added more cameras around the fence line, hidden ones this time. For a brief while, she vanished as if retreating to plan her next move. The neighborhood went quiet, almost too quiet. Then, one Sunday afternoon, as Angela and I hosted our daughter Maya and the grandkids for lunch by the pool, I caught movement near the hedge, a flash of blonde hair, the glint of something metallic. Angela, I said softly, take the kids inside. What is it? Just do it. As they hurried in, I saw Vivian retreating behind her fence. That night, I couldn't shake the feeling she was gearing up for something bigger, something dangerous. And I was right, because the next Sunday, she didn't just peek over the fence, she climbed it. With a gun. Sunday mornings were sacred in our house. Coffee, jazz music. Angela's famous buttermilk pancakes. After the chaos of the last few weeks, we'd finally convinced Maya to bring the boys over for brunch. The sun was warm. The air smelled like maple syrup and cut grass. For a moment, it felt like we were living a normal life again. The backyard shimmered in golden light. The boys, 6 and 8, chased each other with water guns around the pool. Angela set the table under the patio umbrella. Maya was helping me grill. I remember thinking how peaceful everything looked, how maybe, just maybe, the storm had passed. Then came the voice. You people never learn. The sound cut through the laughter like a blade. Everyone froze. I turned toward the fence, and there she was, Vivian Moss. But this time, she wasn't holding a clipboard. She was holding a gun. The glint of sunlight off the steel barrel made my blood run cold. She stood on her side of the fence, at first face red, hand shaking. I warned you, she barked. I told you this neighborhood had standards. Vivian, I said calmly, stepping between her and my family, put that down. Don't tell me what to do on my street. You think you can just take over? Ignore the rules? Mom, the kids. Maya's voice cracked behind me. Inside. Now, I said quietly, not taking my eyes off Vivian. Angela gathered the boys, ushering them through the sliding door. My heartbeat was so loud I could barely hear anything else. Vivian's finger twitched near the trigger. I've called the police again, she shouted. Told them there's an armed intruder in the neighborhood. You won't talk your way out this time. I took a slow breath. Vivian, you're pointing a gun at your neighbor. You're the one breaking the law now. Don't you dare lecture me, she screamed. This property doesn't even belong to you. The HOA never approved this sale. It's fraud. She climbed over the fence, actually climbed it, gripping the wood panels like a woman possessed. Her heels snapped. But she didn't care. She landed on our grass, gun still in hand, eyes wild. Angela gasped from behind the glass door. Maya was on the phone already, whispering to 911. I raised both hands slowly, palms out. All right, Vivian, you've made your point. Everyone hears you now. Just put the gun down. She laughed, a dry, bitter laugh that sent shivers down my spine. You think you can threaten me? I own this place. The HOA will take it back once they see what kind of people moved in. I'm not threatening you, I said softly, but I am warning you. Cameras are rolling. Everything you're doing right now is being recorded. That made her falter. Her eyes darted toward the security camera above the patio, but then she raised the gun higher, pointing it straight at my chest. You're bluffing. Try me. Seconds felt like hours. The gun trembled in her hand. I could see the sweat on her forehead, the panic starting to eat through the rage. She wasn't thinking clearly. She was spiraling. Then the sirens started again. 3 police cruisers screeched into the cul-de-sac. Same ones as last time. Like deja vu, only now it was far more dangerous. Vivian turned toward the sound, startled. The barrel wavered. I took a careful step forward, voice steady. It's over, Vivian. Put it down. She whipped back toward me, finger tightening on the trigger. My stomach turned to ice. Drop the weapon, Officer Daniels shouted as he sprinted through the gate. Behind him, Reyes and another officer raised their weapons. Do it now. For one terrifying second, she didn't move. Then she shrieked, He's trespassing! He's got a gun too! She pointed at me. The officers froze training kicking in. But this time, Daniels didn't fall for it. Ma'am, he said sternly, we've been here before. Lower your weapon now. She hesitated, trembling, then screamed again. You don't understand. He's lying. He's dangerous. I spoke up calm and clear. Check the camera on the patio. Everything's recorded. She broke into our property. Reyes moved around to the side, edging closer. Ma'am, please, don't make this worse. Her grip loosened. The gun sagged slightly. Then, as if realizing she was losing control, Vivian's face twisted into fury again. You people always get away with everything. Not this time, Angela whispered from the doorway. Reyes lunged forward. The gun went off. A single deafening bang that echoed through the neighborhood. My ears rang. Birds exploded out of nearby trees. The bullet hit the ground 2 feet in front of me, kicking up dirt and bits of grass. Vivian screamed as Reyes tackled her to the ground. The gun skittered across the lawn. Daniels and the other officer rushed in, restraining her as she thrashed and shouted, This isn't over! You'll regret this! I'm the real homeowner! He stole it from me! Daniels barked, Ma'am, you are under arrest for trespassing, unlawful possession of a firearm, and assault with a deadly weapon. As they cuffed her, she kept shrieking wild, incoherent things about community integrity and protecting the neighborhood. Angela ran out, tears in her eyes, and wrapped her arms around me. "Are you hurt?" "I'm fine," I said, voice shaking. "But I think she just ruined her life." Daniels approached, tone softer now. "Mr. Bennett, Mrs. Bennett, I'm sorry you had to go through this again. We'll need your statement and the footage." "You'll have it," I said. "Every second's on camera." They led Vivian away, still shouting as the cuffs clicked tighter. "You'll see. They'll believe me. I am the HOA." The whole street watched from their porches, some filming, some whispering. For the first time, the mighty Vivian Moss looked small, powerless, pathetic. After the cruisers pulled away, Officer Reyes lingered a moment. "You handled that incredibly well, Mr. Bennett. If you hadn't stayed calm, that could have gone very differently." "I've lived long enough to know that anger only adds fuel," I replied. "Better to let the truth burn on its own." He nodded, gave a tight smile, and left. When the yard finally emptied, silence filled the space again. The smell of gunpowder still lingered faintly in the air. A small hole in the lawn marked where the bullet had hit, a reminder of how close chaos had come. Angela stared at it quietly. "She could have killed you." "Marcus." "Yeah," I said, wrapping an arm around her shoulder. "But she didn't." That night, after Maya and the boys went home and the adrenaline wore off, I sat by the pool looking at the rippling water. Reflections shimmered like ghosts. I replayed everything in my head. The rage in her eyes, the disbelief, the madness. What drives someone to that edge? Hate? Control? Fear of losing power? Maybe all three. The next morning, reporters showed up at the gate. Word had spread fast. HOA enforcer pulls gun on neighbor. The headline practically wrote itself. I refused to talk to them. But one shouted a question as they packed up. "Mr. Bennett, do you think she's dangerous?" I looked straight into the camera. "I think some people mistake control for safety, and that's the most dangerous thing there is." Later that day, Officer Daniels called. We found out Vivian's gun wasn't registered. She didn't even have a firearm license. There will be serious charges: unlawful possession, reckless endangerment, hate crime allegations under review. When I hung up, Angela whispered, "Do you think she'll ever come back?" I looked out the window at her empty house, blinds drawn, garden unwatered, mailbox stuffed with letters. "No," I said softly, "not the same way." But I had no idea the story wasn't finished yet. 2 days after the shooting, the sound of silence around Cedar Heights was deafening. No lawnmowers, no kids riding bikes, not even sprinklers. The entire neighborhood was holding its breath. Then came the twist I didn't see coming. A thick envelope arrived in the mail, certified, requiring signature. Inside, legal documents, a lawsuit. Vivian Moss v. Marcus Bennett. Defamation, emotional distress, property harassment. I stared at the papers, disbelief turning to anger. She was suing me from jail. Her lawyer, some hack named Gerald Price, claimed I'd orchestrated a campaign of intimidation that led to her mental breakdown and wrongful arrest. Angela read it over my shoulder, voice shaking. "This is insane. She pulled a gun on you." "I know," I said. "But now she's trying to bankrupt us with legal fees." The lawsuit demanded $250,000 in damages. Even if we won, which we would, defending it would cost tens of thousands. Money we didn't have lying around. For the first time since this started, I felt trapped. Not by Vivian, by the system she was weaponizing from behind bars. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every sound felt like a threat. Every shadow looked like her climbing the fence again. Angela found me at 3 a.m., sitting at the kitchen table, staring at the lawsuit. "Marcus," she said gently, "we can't let her win like this." "She's not winning," I said. "She's drowning and trying to drag us down with her." But doubt crept in anyway. What if the legal fees crushed us? What if we had to sell the house? What if all this fighting, all this standing our ground, cost us everything? For the first time, I wondered if maybe we should have just moved. 3 weeks later, the preliminary hearing arrived. The courtroom was tense. Vivian sat behind the defense table in a gray blazer, hands cuffed. The confidence that once defined her was gone. Her lawyer tried to argue mental distress, claiming she'd acted out of fear due to recent break-ins in the neighborhood. When it was my turn to testify, I kept my tone even. She didn't act out of fear. She acted out of hate and entitlement. She thought she could decide who belonged. Then the prosecutor played the footage. The entire room fell silent, except for Vivian's voice screaming, "This property doesn't belong to you!" Judge Thompson, a tall woman with a calm but commanding presence, leaned forward. "Mrs. Moss, did you or did you not climb the fence onto Mr. Bennett's property with a loaded weapon?" Vivian's voice cracked. I was protecting my community. The judge's tone sharpened. "By threatening a man on his own property while lying to 911? Mrs. Moss, you've endangered lives." The verdict was swift. Guilty on multiple counts. Vivian's sentence, 18 months in county jail, mandatory psychiatric counseling, 5 years probation. But it was enough to strip away her last bit of power. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. "Mr. Bennett, how do you feel about the sentence?" I looked straight into the camera. Justice isn't about punishment. It's about prevention. I hope she gets help. But I also hope people realize cameras don't lie, and neither does hate. By the time spring rolled around the next year, Cedar Heights had started to feel normal again. Leaves were blooming, kids decorated for Easter. The echo of sirens had faded into memory. The neighbors, once tense and silent, were suddenly friendly again. Funny how quickly people rediscover their manners once the tyrant is gone. The HOA had replaced Vivian with a new president, a quiet man named Tom Chen, who preferred book clubs to bylaws. He stopped by one afternoon with a basket of muffins and a genuine smile. "We just want everyone to get along again." For the first time, I believed it might actually be possible. But there was one moment that stuck with me. A few weeks after the sentencing, a delivery van stopped by. The driver handed me a small box. No sender listed. Inside, a folded piece of paper. "Thank you for telling the truth. I'm sorry, VM." There was no address, no signature beyond the initials, just that short message. Angela wanted to throw it away, but I tucked it into the back of my desk drawer instead. Not as a keepsake, but as a reminder that even in the ugliest storms, people are capable of realizing what they've done. That night, I poured a drink, went outside, and sat by the pool again. The reflection of the stars danced on the water surface, calm and unbroken. It felt like the first real peace I'd had in years. Justice hadn't just punished the problem, it had restored something deeper. The idea that even when madness takes root in the quietest neighborhoods, truth can still bloom louder than fear. Winter crept into Cedar Heights like a slow exhale. The air crisp, the lawns pale, the neighborhood finally quiet. No more shouting across fences, no fake violation slips, no flashing police lights. For the first time since we'd moved in, our mornings were truly silent. Peaceful, real. One Saturday morning, Angela and I took a walk around the neighborhood. The sun had just risen, painting everything in warm gold. We passed Vivian's old house, now sold to a young couple with a baby on the way. The new owners had repainted it pale blue, planted sunflowers, and replaced her infamous HOA president sign with a cheerful wreath that said, "Welcome, friends." Angela smiled. "Can you believe that used to be her kingdom?" I chuckled. "Yeah, hard to picture now. Feels like a different lifetime." And maybe it was. Most of the neighbors had returned to normal life. The Johnsons still brought banana bread. The Chavez kids still lost their soccer balls in our yard. Even the HOA had turned human again. Tom organized a small gathering that December, complete with cocoa, Christmas lights, and 0 lectures about property codes. During the event, he pulled me aside. "Marcus, I just wanted to thank you. I know what you went through wasn't fair, but because of you, the community is better now. People talk to each other again." I smiled. "That's kind of you, Tom." "I just told the truth." He shook his head. "You did more than that. You showed everyone what accountability looks like." His words lingered with me. That evening, As snow began to fall outside, I poured 2 mugs of hot cocoa and joined Angela on the porch. The world looked softer under the white, forgiving even. "You ever think we were meant to move here?" she asked suddenly. "Like this house, all this chaos, maybe it had a purpose?" I looked at her and smiled. "You mean, was I destined to become the neighborhood's accidental activist?" She laughed. "Something like that." I thought about it. About how one stubborn man and one broken woman had somehow dragged a quiet community out of its complacency. About how fear and hatred could grow unchecked behind white fences and manicured lawns until someone finally shone a light on it. "Maybe you're right," I said. "Maybe this was supposed to happen. Maybe it was never about her or me. Maybe it was about everyone watching, realizing that silence lets people like her win." Angela rested her head on my shoulder. The snow kept falling, and for the first time in months, I felt completely at ease. A few weeks later, I ran into Officer Reyes at the grocery store. He looked more relaxed than the last time I'd seen him. Younger, somehow. "Mr. Bennett," he said, shaking my hand, "how's retired life treating you now that you're not dodging bullets in your own backyard?" I laughed. "A lot quieter. Thanks to you guys." He grinned. "You know, Vivian's due for release this spring. She's under strict supervision, can't come anywhere near this area, but word is she's doing well in therapy. Maybe she'll finally learn what community means." "Let's hope so," I said. "Though I think this place learned it before she did." That evening, I walked out to the pool, the same pool that had once been the epicenter of chaos. The water was still, reflecting the pink-orange sky like glass. I dipped my hand in, letting the cold ripple outward. Everything felt full circle. Angela joined me, wrapping her arm around my waist. "You know," she said, "this pool nearly got you killed." I smiled. "And now it's just water again. That's the funny thing about peace. It always looks ordinary when it's real." She rested her head on my shoulder. "So what now, Mr. Bennett?" "Now," I said, gazing across the quiet street. "Now I just live. And maybe, if we're lucky, we make sure no one ever lets another HOA queen turn power into poison again." We stood there until the sun disappeared, our reflections fading into the water's dark surface. The house behind us glowed with warmth, laughter, and light, everything we'd fought to protect. Life in a neighborhood or anywhere isn't about rules, lawns, or property lines. It's about respect. About knowing that a community only works when people see each other as equals, not enemies. Vivian Moss thought power would earn her respect. But real respect isn't forced. It's earned through kindness, fairness, and humility. If this story taught me anything, it's that silence in the face of injustice is its own kind of crime. Sometimes standing your ground doesn't mean fighting with fists or fury. It means staying calm, collecting truth, and trusting that light always exposes darkness. So wherever you're watching from, tell me, have you ever dealt with a Vivian in your life? Someone who tried to control what wasn't theirs? Drop your story in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, because the next story might just prove again that karma never skips an address.